to the YouTube channel of Pro Enzo Vids, and this afternoon I am talking about the future of Jonah Pezet, and it's been now confirmed that Jonah Pezet will trigger his clause where he has an exit clause in his contract, and yeah, he looks set to leave the Melbourne Storm. Not officially confirmed yet, but what has been confirmed is, yeah, he's triggered his exit clause from the Storm in his current deal, and he does plan to talk to other clubs, and other clubs can make offers to him from November 1st, I think, and I can see him potentially being at a new club next year. So, yeah, because obviously when the Storm announced Jerome Hughes was re-signing last year, I think it was, or whenever it was, but it was pretty recent. Yeah, Jonah Pezet would be allowed to look elsewhere for a loan deal, first of all, though. Not an actual NRL deal, a loan deal. But it sounds like now they're going to change it to an NRL deal. So, yeah, you know, not a bad shout for Jonah Pezet to try his luck elsewhere and maybe be a consistent first grader elsewhere. So, see what happens. But as always, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Your support's greatly appreciated. Currently at 5,870 subscribers, so very close to that goal of 6K now. Look, 6K before the end of the year would be greatly appreciated, and that's what the goal is right now. But let's get into it. Jonah Pezet will be leaving the Storm, we assume now. So from 4 to 1, talking about the clubs that are most not likely to get him, and then going up, it's the clubs that I believe are more likely to get him. So number 4, first of all, I have the North Queensland Cowboys. I went Cowboys for number 4 just because I think Cowboys, they could target Pezet, and I think Pezet would be quite a good target for the Cowboys just because, you know, thinking about it right now, Pezet and Tom Dearden as a halves pairing could be quite lethal. But I say Cowboys at the bottom of the barrel just because they've got Jake Clifford there and Jackson Purdue, who I assume will be their long-term 5'8", with Dearden being their halfback, and Jake Clifford, you know, probably being their backup half, or could start next year as well, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, I think the Cowboys not as likely to get Jonah Pezet compared to other clubs, but I think Pezet would be a great signing for them, you know. Pezet comes from a great Melbourne Storm system where he's been an understudy, or he's learnt from, you know, Munster and Jerome Hughes for a couple of years now. So he obviously would know a fair bit from those two. So, you know, he's obviously got great experience now being around those guys. So I think coming to the Cowboys, a club that they probably do need a bit more X factor in that position, where Tom Dearden's now given the keys to be the main man in that team. Jonah Pezet could be a great number 6 option and could really, you know, benefit being a good foil for Tom Dearden, but yeah, it sounds like Jackson Purdue's their long-term 5'8", so they'll invest more into him, I'd say. But yeah, look, Cowboys definitely are an option, but I can't see it happening. So yeah, that's why Cowboys number 4. Number 3, I have the Gold Coast Titans. Now, the Gold Coast number 3. Now, I think Titans definitely could do with someone like Jonah Pezet. You know, Titans don't have really much of a halves pairing going forward next year. Like, what's their halves going to be? Kieran Foran's gone, and you know, Tom Weaver's now gone to the Super League. So at the moment, I can't quite picture what their best halves are, if I'm being honest. Maybe that young Zane Harrison bloke gets to go next year, I don't know, but he's a rookie though, it hasn't even debuted yet. AJ Brimson 5'8", Jane Campbell 5'8". Like, I don't know what's happening with the Titans next year, so it makes it really hard to understand how the Gold Coast will even go next year. They're not going to make any new signings at this current rate, but they might still. But yeah, I think Jonah Pezet would be a great signing for the Titans. You know, Pezet maybe being a bit younger, maybe given the responsibility of changing a club that has not had much luck in the previous seasons is a bit too much to ask. But I think he would be good for the Titans just because he's a not, I wouldn't say quite proven just yet, but he's definitely got the mindset of a winner, being in that Melbourne Storm system, which could definitely rub off on the rest of that Titans team potentially. But yeah, maybe Pezet, if he went to the Titans, he would be more of a 7, just because he probably would be ready to lead a side right now, and probably is predominantly a 7 anyway. But I think he'll be happy to play 6 until he does get the opportunity to play 7, whenever that comes. He's still very young. But yeah, it would be a good signing for the Gold Coast Titans if they did sign Jonah Pezet. I think Titans actually confirmed they were interested in signing him, but I'm not too sure if that was for a loan deal or a long-term deal, but I'd say if Titans are still interested, they should look to sign him on a long-term deal because they could potentially build a good team around Jonah Pezet. So I think Gold Coast makes sense as a destination for him, but we'll see what Josh Hannay thinks and what his plans are for going forward. But Jonah Pezet would be a great ideal signing for the Gold Coast Titans. Number 2, I have the Canberra Raiders, and I think Canberra Raiders are a good option for Jonah Pezet. I think this would be the sort of good signing that would be very ideal to replace someone like Jamal Fogarty, who's coming to my boys Manly next season. So I think they do need a good 7 to replace him, as he's very experienced and obviously done a great job for Canberra this year, Fogarty. But yeah, look, Jonah Pezet's a completely different player, not as experienced as Fogarty, and hasn't done much in the game compared to what Fogarty has, but I think Pezet would be a great signing for Canberra because he gets to be in a very good system like Canberra, in a good culture. It looks like as well, Canberra have a great team culture, which I think Pezet would have at the Melbourne Storm as well, and would fit really well into a Canberra culture that is pretty strong, as I can tell. And, I think Ethan Strange being a great young player himself and having Jonah Pezet being his number 7, it's a great combo, a very good combo actually. And, obviously you could have Ethan Sanders there. So that's why Raiders are not first, because Ethan Sanders, I believe, will be their long-term 7. But you never know, things can change. I think Jonah Pezet would suit that Canberra Raiders team really well, actually. And, Strange and Pezet as a combo has a lot of potential to be really damaging, I feel like. So Canberra are right up there in the mix, in my opinion. I think Ricky Stewart, being a coach who can already get young players playing so well for him, I think Jonah Pezet could fall under that same category if he went to Canberra, being a very good 7 under Ricky Stewart's coaching. So, look, I think Canberra are a real shot for him, actually. I think Canberra are also very much into signing him as well. So we'll see if they are the team that lands his signature in the end. But yeah, look, I think Canberra are definitely a club that makes sense for Pezet, even though Ethan Sanders is there. And lastly, the club that I believe can use Jonah Pezet the best, that is the Parramatta Eels. I believe the Parramatta Eels are the favourites for actually signing Jonah Pezet as well. So it makes more sense that they are the favourites to sign him, especially when I think they could definitely benefit with having Mitchell Moses and Jonah Pezet as a halves pairing. Pezet 6, Moses 7. However, what does that mean for someone like Josh Papali'i, who I believe has a big future in the NRL and for the Parramatta Eels? But I guess they can, always move players around to make things work. But the thing is, I think Joash is more of a fullback than an actual 6. But look, if Parramatta, opt to back Joash as their long-term 6, then by all means, fair enough. But I think Pezet is more established in that position, and I think Pezet would be an upgrade, in my honest opinion. Dylan Brown obviously will be not the biggest loss, but he will be a loss because, he's been there 5'8" for quite some time now. So it's a bit of a responsibility on Joash to really step up and do a job when he hasn't really played much 5'8" in his career. But I think Pezet being, a great rookie that learned under Munster and Hughes, I think bringing that experience to Melbourne would be great. From Melbourne to Parramatta would be very good for him. And he'd have a relationship with Jason Ryles too, I'm pretty sure. He would have known Ryles from somewhere during their Melbourne days. So it makes sense, honestly. It really does make sense. Parramatta's attack already looks better towards the back end of the season anyway. So he could really form a lethal combo with Mitchell Moses, and Moses could even teach him a thing or two as well. So I think Parramatta are his best option, but we'll see what happens though. But yeah, I think if Pezet was to leave Melbourne, Parramatta Eels are the club that he'll sign for, in my opinion, out of all the clubs he's linked to. But everyone, where do you see Jonah Pezet ending up in 2026? Let me know in the comments down below. Do you think he'll end up at a Sydney club or a Queensland club, or do you think that he'll stay at Melbourne after all and then maybe move in 2027? What do you think? But it looks more likely though he'll be at a new club next year. So where do you think he'll end up? I reckon Parramatta, but see what happens. But as always, like, comment, and subscribe to the channel, and have a great rest of your night.